words to show for it. And it's starting to be upsetting to me because he's not getting talked about like the top linebacker anymore. When he genuinely, you could look at him as the best middle linebacker in the league right now. So it's like, yeah, Michael Parsons is amazing. And he's my defensive player of the year award, but I just want to give shout out to Fred Warner. He's an amazing ball player and he just gets overlooked so much. I want to start him for my.
He's a dog. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the lunch table. I am Big Ties, joined as always by the boys. Boys, Dilly, Saya, Trev, DiMaggio. How we doing today?
Not too bad.
Doing good.
Missed last week, missed all of you lovely viewers, but we are back now. We got an action-packed episode, a little something special today, but let's kick it off by giving a shout out to the Philadelphia Phillies and the Houston Astros, who will be facing each other in the 2022 World Series. I'm really excited for this matchup, man. Bryce Harper has been on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dude, the Phillies have been on fire.
Yeah,
the city of
Phillies
Philly
are hot.
in general.
The city of Philly, bro. The fucking Flyers, the Eagles, Sixers.
Unfortunately, Jalen Hurts did get outed as an Astros fan today, but
Yeah, that was awkward.
oh well, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
oh yeah, quick shout out to them. Both teams have had a great year. Somebody's going to come out on top. Personally, I think it'll be the Phillies, but we shall see.
Damn. I thought I had the Phillies going to World Series. I had the Dodgers. Just had to put it in there.
I hope the Phillies win, man. I don't want to see no cheating Astros, and the Phillies knocked off the Braves, so just keep it in line.
Yeah, baby. NL East, baby. That'll be the third NL East team in 4 years to win it.
Shit, that's sick.
Oh yeah, real quick. Yankees fans, I was big shitting on y'all during the worst sports fans top 10 list a while back, and just
what's good.
I'm doubling down now. I mean, y'all suck. Leaving the fucking game early and shit. Yankees fans have no heart.
Yeah, fuck Yankee fans and the Yankees.
Anyways, let's get into a sport that's really been cooking. The NFL. Our fucking bread and butter here at the lunch table.
Heart and soul, baby.
We're going to do a little something special today with the NFL. We are going to be revisiting some of our preseason award predictions, seeing how they're panning out so far. Maybe give some midseason, revised predictions for some of these awards, because some things have shaken out the way we thought they would. Some things have shaken out the complete opposite of the way we thought they would. And this should be fun to go back in and kind of take a look at where our head was a couple of months ago. But I want to save the MVP for last. We'll start with Offensive Player of the Year. We together predicted that it would be Derrick Henry bringing home Offensive Player of the Year. And halfway through the season, just about halfway through the season, I'm not loving that pick. I mean, Henry's still balling out. He's definitely had some of his best work of his career come in the latter half of seasons, but didn't really get off to an explosive start like he has in years past. So I just think it might be a little challenging for him to pull that one off for like what would be like the third year straight or something like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. You're definitely right about that, especially with the talented play of a lot of other running backs right now. Like we're going to talk about Saquon later, obviously, but Nick Chubb, and then the receivers this year have been dominating. I mean, you have Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp still going crazy. And honestly, I can still see Travis Kelce getting it too, the way he's playing. He's been very consistent and just he hasn't had a bad game. Yeah. I mean, there was that one game against the Raiders where he had 6 receptions and basically every 2 receptions he had a touchdown, 1.5 receptions. So yeah, Travis Kelce's balling. There's a lot of players that are deserving of that award and probably will get it over Henry at this point.
Even a guy like Tyreek Hill is having a monster year.
Yeah.
I think preseason we were talking about this award too. I think everybody's like second choice was probably Jonathan Taylor, who has also really not done
anything
JT
at
things
all.
this year at all. Yeah. I mean, the Colts have bigger issues to worry about than the run game at this point in the
Very
season,
true.
but
Yeah.
I mean, that can be accredited to a lot of things, though, for Jonathan Taylor, like the poor online play versus last year, and then just on top of his injury concerns this year.
yeah.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor came back healthy this week and had a decent game, but yeah, you're right. Offensive player of the year, I think it's kind of out of his reach at this point.
Oh, yeah. So, as of right now, based on what we've seen, what are some names you think are in this conversation for offensive player of the year? I know you mentioned Saquon a minute ago.
Mm-hmm. I still have Diggs. Diggs has been insane this year. Top 5 receiving yards, top 5 receptions, top 5 touchdowns in a pass heavy offense. He's just in a position to continue his success. I mean, Cooper Kupp's right behind him in a lot of stats, but when Stephon Diggs is averaging a lot more yards per reception as well, then Cooper Kupp's getting like 20 targets a game. Obviously, he's going to have good stats, but Diggs has been a lot more efficient with those receptions. So I feel like Diggs is the prime candidate. Also on a better team.
I was about to say Diggs
So-
playing on a 5-1 team, Cup playing on what a 3-3, 3-4 team.
3 and 4. Oh, 3 and 3. They had a bye week. Yeah. 3 and 3.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I also really like what Nick Chubb is doing. It seems like the Browns are finally kind of getting to a point where they're ready to maybe move Kareem Hunt and let Nick Chubb take over full responsibility in that backfield. And with that kind of production, I mean, he already puts up video game numbers while, splitting touches, but if he could just get sole possession of that backfield, he could definitely put up a crazy season. He's already put up a crazy season.
Another name I want to throw in there, just because this dude gone off for like the last 4 weeks in a row now. Josh Jacobs. This dude, Josh McDaniel, has finally figured out how to utilize his running back the best way possible, and he's had like 140 yards in 3 straight games, also having a tutty in 3 straight games. So Josh Jacobs is doing some good things for the
Josh
Raiders.
Jacobs fucking playing with that chip on his shoulder after McDaniels made him play in the Hall of Fame game.
Oh yeah.
Which is a slap in the face, bro. If you're like a solidified starter and your coach is telling you that you have to suit up for the Hall of Fame game, no, I would definitely take that as a massive sign of disrespect.
I mean,
it's here too.
Yeah, contract year. So he's got to prove himself if he wants to stay with this team or earn a big paycheck.
Definitely has done that so far too. Another name, I know he doesn't have the rushing yards, but he has the touchdowns and has been very active in the passing game. It's Austin Eckler. I mean, I feel like you have to include him. He's been a touchdown machine. I know fantasy doesn't play a part into it, and he could honestly win the Fantasy Player of the Year award, but he's had like 4 straight games. There was one game he had like 24, but 4 straight games of 30 plus points in fantasy, and just I know it's fantasy, but when you look at the stats,
it still goes to show. Yeah,
it shows that he's been very efficient and crazy with just the amount of receiving work he's gotten with Mike Williams now down and Keenan Allen being out. So
yeah,
I'm actually surprised no one said this yet. So I'm kind of glad though. I'm surprised he hasn't even won this award yet. But Justin Jefferson, I mean, it's no surprise there that he's doing the things he's still doing. He had one off game the week before they played the Saints in London, but yet again, just like Dimanche said, like Austin Eckler, he's just right around that 30-point range in fantasy, and that's 100 plus yards a game. It's a couple touchdowns a game, so it's the numbers Jettis is putting up is just unbelievable, and he will continue to do that. So I just think he is massively deserved of his name being in that conversation.
Definitely.
Oh yeah. I was thinking of a couple of different quarterbacks, but I'm not even going to mention them for Offensive Player of the Year since this award is basically the non-QB MVP at this point anyways. But all right, let's flip sides of the ball real quick. Switching over to Defensive Player of the Year. All right, preseason we had Micah Parsons. Now, I would very much still have him in this race, but definitely some other guys who are playing up on that elite level with him. And one guy who I just want to throw out real quick is Quinnen Williams. Now, this might sound kind of crazy, interior D line, but Quinnen Williams, I think, has really been the catalyst for the Jets' success on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, Robert Saleh is really starting to come into his own and show some of those Niners colors from a few years ago when he was the D coordinator over there. But I really like what he's doing with Quinnen Williams. That dude is just a monster inside, and he's definitely stepped his game up to an elite top of the league type level this year. And I think his name should be in there.
Yeah, definitely another one of them Alabama gritty nose tackles that are found everywhere around the league nowadays.
Oh yeah.
The other guy I want to throw in there, I want to throw in Max Crosby. Although the Raiders have had a poor start to the season, Max Crosby's done literally all he can do on the defensive side of the ball. I'm sure he's top 6 or 7 in sacks right now, up there with Micah Parsons and Alex Highsmith and Bosa. But I think if the Raiders turn it around drastically, like we think they will, I think a lot of it will be on Max Crosby's shoulders.
Yeah.
It's funny enough that I was gonna say Max Crosby too. He's been an elite player. He's one of the top edge run defenders this year, which is a step up because he was about mid-tier last year against the run, elite pass rusher. But because I don't want to talk about the same player twice, I'm actually going to go with a homer pick, and it's going to sound weird, but Roquan Smith, playing in a contract year, leads the league in tackles right now, has 2 interceptions on the season, one of them a game-sealing interception, has been very efficient in the pass game, run game. He's been a ball player just all around. They're finally blitzing more. We have the lowest blitz percentage in the league up until about 2 weeks ago. Ever since they started rushing Roquan, I think he has 2 sacks on the season now. He's just everywhere. And he's not Micah Parsons level, but I definitely think he could be in that conversation when the year ends for Defensive Player of the Year.
Another kind of sleeper pick, like Tice was saying, this might be a shock, but I love it. Matthew Judon.
Yeah.
I feel like kind of the same. If the Pats can flip a switch. I mean, Matthew Judon he needs 1 more sack, and he's at 10 sacks already, and we're already halfway through the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, 11
sleeves.
Yeah.
I feel like you got to throw Nick Bosa in there too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
For sure. Oh, for sure.
It's another team that just kind of needs to figure it out and start winning some games, proving themselves.
I mean, now that they'll have CMC for the full game every week from here on out, hopefully, if you stay healthy, they really shouldn't have any problems.
Yeah, the offensive efficiency is really where I think they've been lacking. So I feel like, they scored a top 5. They were number 1 in almost every stat like 2 weeks ago.
Up until that Falcons game.
Yeah, up until that Falcons game. So I feel like the Niners, they'll turn it around with the wins. We'll also recognize that Nick Bosa has been a part of that. So, definitely a great pick.
That whole Niners defense is really impressing me this year.
Honestly.
I don't know if he's in like the runnings for any like awards or anything, but Talanoa Hufanga has had a fucking major come up this year.
the reincarnation of Troy Polamalu.
Yep.
Literally.
Yeah.
That dude's a dog. That Niners defense is scary, but they need to start picking up some wins.
I think they just need to stay healthy as a team, honestly. That's
that too.
Is. They've been hurt the past 2-3 weeks. So
very true. All right. Let's talk about some rooks. Let's talk about some fresh meat. We'll keep it on the defensive side to start here. Defensive Rookie of the Year. Preseason, we had Nakobe Dean. All right. Now that's a bust. That was a bust pick. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it. But yes, as Dilly has said, the focus on this award has shifted from the early drafted pass rushers to some of the early drafted defensive backs in this class. And Dilly, you said Sauce, another guy, Tariq Woolen out of Seattle. There's just been a lot. Jack Jones out of New England. There's been a lot of really good DB play from some of these rookies, which is surprising because you would think that corner is one of those positions that's probably got one of the biggest transitional gaps, of like just skill and talent from college to pros. But these guys are crazy.
I feel like there is a lot of attention on Sauce Gardner just because he was a first-round pick. And kudos to him for just being one of the best cornerbacks in the league already. He's
truly locked down.
He's number one in passes deflected.
Yeah, up there with Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, so amazing. But if you're looking at just where they were drafted and how they're playing, Tariq Woolen, I feel like you have to give. I mean, down. Jack Jones is definitely
dude.
But Jack Jones doesn't play full time. He's still getting produced in the offense or the defense, but he's just been very efficient is the thing. He's been just a great player, not full time though. Difference is Tariq Woolen starting full time, doing everything, leads the league tied for 4 interceptions, has been one of the top graded cornerbacks in the league, and was a late draft pick.
Fifth round pick.
Yeah. So I think the tools were there for him to succeed in the league anyways. I mean, he ran in the 4.2s at 6'4" and is an athletic freak and has shown that he's great in coverage too. So Tariq Woolen honestly is my pick. He's been doing everything at an elite level. So
yeah. Exceeding expectations for a rookie, but especially exceeding expectations for a 5th round rookie.
And I'll add that this Seattle Seahawks team has exceeded expectations.
Yeah,
like tremendously.
It is not a one-game wonder with Geno Smith. That dude is legit a top 10 quarterback. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, as a Cardinals fan, obviously seeing Russell Wilson leave was the fucking best thing to ever happen to me. But of course, right, you got Geno Smith to come and do this. But not only that, and not only Tariq Woolen, but just the Seattle's draft class. Tariq Woolen, dog. Kenneth Walker, dog. Charles Cross.
He's getting there, but
he's a dog. Yeah,
pass protectors in the game right now.
Yeah, just too many penalties. But
still,
that's a nice draft class.
And you're also didn't talk about Kobe Bryant, who is
playing well,
overlooked by Tariq Woolen because of how he's playing. But Kobe Bryant's been very efficient too.
Yes.
So,
the other Cincinnati cornerback to be drafted.
We've been talking a lot about DBs, but a guy who I think is still very much in this race, largely in part due to a big performance against the Cowboys this weekend, is Aiden Hutchinson. Had that 3-sack game earlier in the year. You know, maybe they weren't necessarily maybe those sacks didn't really prove much, kind of scheme sacks and shit like that. But I was really impressed with his game against the Cowboys and taking advantage of a little bit of a mismatch there on the right side with Terrence Steele. He was just getting after it all day. And I think that he's one of those guys who you can see improvement week by week.
No, definitely. And Aiden Hutchinson, you hit it right on the nail. Like, I know I was talking a lot of shit. I'm still going to talk because the Lions suck. But Aiden Hutchinson, I did talk about that 3-sack game being like one of those things where it was just all schemed. It wasn't good. I wasn't really impressed. Like, there's a lot of defensive linemen that can do that if you're schemed that well. But when you look at this game against the Cowboys, he had true pass rushing sacks, like true beat the man. And even when he didn't get sacked, he was in that backfield almost every play. So Aiden Hutchinson, shout out to him. He's had an amazing game this past game. And you're right. He's probably going to show improvement for the rest of the season. I just think when looking at how hot of a start those other players have got into, it's going to be hard for him to surpass them at this point.
Yeah. Aiden Hutchinson has got a lethal spin move on him, though. Watching him pull out that spin move is so crazy. I mean, he can move like a freak.
Mm-hmm.
Another rookie pass rusher I just want to give flowers to is Kayvon Thibodeau. Obviously, he was taken right behind Aiden Hutchinson, but the culture shock in New York, bringing Dable in, having a new coaching staff, and that just gave them new life. And this dude, Kayvon Thibodeau, is making plays from chasing a running back 75 yards downfield to make a tackle. You just don't see those type of effort plays from a rookie. And I just think he deserves his flowers for that.
Just out of curiosity, has anybody been paying attention to the Jaguars? Because I know as for sure as hell I haven't. But
no.
Is Devin Lloyd still cooking?
No, Devin Lloyd's been insane. And that's actually somebody that I did want to talk about. Devin Lloyd has played tremendous for the Jaguars. He's literally the reason why their defense is playing at the level they're playing right now. They've been a lot more efficient than last year. And while Trayvon Walker was the number 1 pick and he's been playing at a decent level, everybody knew he's going to be a project. He's just an athletic freak. Devin Lloyd has carried that defense and made a lot of plays in the run game.
So who's their other rookie backer? Not the first overall pick, Walker.
Are
Muma.
you talking about the one out of Wyoming?
Yeah, Chad Muma. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Has he gotten any PT?
I honestly don't know. I think he's been a part-time like player, especially in like nickel situations. Like instead of playing like another DB, he used to play like a DB role, like a nickel linebacker, and that's what they would bring him in for, is like those nickel packages. So he's played decent, but not worthy of like a rookie of the year nomination.
Right. To add to this, giving flowers to this Jacksonville defense, they've got two linebackers in top 15 in leading tackles this year. One being last year's tackle leader in Foyesade Olakun, former Falcon, but Devin Lloyd comes in at number 11 with 63 total tackles. So he's definitely balling.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get back to the offensive side of the ball. Let's get back to some point scorers here. Offensive rookie of the year. I think this is pretty clearly a running back dominated award this year. I'm going to throw out a guy who I took a chance on in fantasy, and he is repaying me fruitfully, and that is the Houston Texans' own Dameon Pierce. I mean, talk about a hard runner, bro. This guy is such a menace.
No.
Oh my God.
Tice, I thought you were gonna say this, because literally 5 minutes, literally a day before I accepted that trade, bro, I could have sent Breece Hall to D-Mod to get Hop, and I would have got Hop for free pretty much, but it didn't work out because D-Mod wanted way too fucking much. Anyways, what I'm saying is, sorry, Tice. That's a blow.
Cancel another running back that was in the rookie running, but
for anybody who doesn't know what Dilly's talking about, in our fantasy league, I masterfully crafted a beautiful 3-team trade between me, Dilly, and Saya that sent Breece Hall to my team, and I got a whole 28 minutes out of the guy before he tore his ACL. Got 20 points in that 28 minutes, but yeah, I definitely took the L on that one.
Also want to talk about that though. Like, sorry for Breece Hall. He was playing amazing
for sure.
He honestly probably would have won the rookie of the year.
Definitely.
If he would have stayed healthy, but keep him into prayers. But
comeback player next year.
Yeah, honestly. But back to the rookie race. I actually picked somebody for this, and it was Kenneth Walker early in the season, in preseason, and I think he definitely could win this award.
He's definitely.
Yeah, he's
creeping up the ladder.
Game, and
I think he's the front runner.
Yeah, like at this point, after these past 2 games, I feel like you can definitely say he's one of the front runners for it. He's not as active in the passing game as I thought he would be, but he's been a monster in the run game. Past 2 weeks, he has over 250 yards rushing. I think he has 3 total touchdowns.
Yeah, that monster 72-yarder against the Saints or against the Chargers.
Yeah, so he's been balling out, and I mean, it's due to Rashad Penny's injury, and sorry for that, but Kenneth Walker's showing why he should have been the number 1 from the beginning. He's been a monster ever since he's been able to just have that lead role, and I definitely still have him as my pick for the rookie of the year.
Oh yeah, I think he's got a clear shot at it. I mean, it's going to come down to, I think, if him or Pierce, which one of them can stay healthier and stay on the field for more plays, because they're both running so efficiently, scoring touchdowns, running behind O-lines that I would say are exceeding expectations a little bit.
Yeah, actually.
But outside of the running backs, definitely want to give a shout out to Chris Olave, who has carved out a really solid role in the Saints offense here early. Didn't take him much time to do that.
Yes.
If only he had a competent quarterback throwing him the ball, he would probably be making bigger waves in this race.
Andy Dalton's so trash, bro.
Got the Red Rocket and Jabu Winston throwing him the rock.
I feel like
Saints suck.
That I feel like he does have a competent quarterback if he just stayed healthy, because Jameis is a good quarterback. And he showed that in the first 2 weeks. Like, he was playing well. And then he broke 4 fucking he has 4 spinal fractures right now.
Hey, I believed in Jameis.
Awful because of it. And so I feel like he can, when he gets healthy, still prove that he's a competent quarterback. It just takes time. Then you obviously have Chris Olave, who balled and he got hurt. So there's just that trying to figure it out.
And also when they get Juice and Slam Boy back.
Saints.
What's Jameis's injury? Just out of curiosity, I don't really know.
He has 4 spinal fractures, and I think he also he got something else. He got something else tweaked, so he's just dead right now. And he was playing through that, and that's when he started having those bad games. Was when he was trying to play through that. So they sat him, trying to let him heal. When he comes back, well, I think we'll actually see what Jameis truly can do, and that's be a good quarterback. Because when he's healthy, I feel like on the Saints, he's proved that he's been a good quarterback. I mean, he was 5-2 before he tore his ACL. He was, yeah. And then this year when he was healthy, he was 1-1, I think, and wasn't very turnover prone at that point. And then obviously you hit the Bucs game when he got hurt and started just becoming a massacre with his stats. So,
well, hey, if football doesn't work out for Jameis, I think he would make a great anatomy teacher, talking about you got shoulders, and the shoulders are just the hips of the upper body, and you got your elbows, and your elbows are just your knees, and you got your fingers and your toes. He's really got away with words like that. So no, another receiver though who has definitely shown some flashes early is Garrett Wilson, going back to the Jets and their fucking crop of rookies. Garrett Wilson, obviously, Zach Wilson hasn't really been throwing the ball that great or for that many yards, but when Garrett Wilson does get targets, he's making plays. I mean, we remember the Browns game from I think week 2 or 3 when he had a couple of touchdowns. I think the race is a little far gone at this point for him to win the award, but I definitely think he deserves to be mentioned with some of these top offensive rookies so far this year.
Drake London is kind of up there too.
Thanks. I'm not trying to be biased here, but I would definitely put Drake London ahead of Garrett Wilson.
No, it's definitely fair. I feel like if he would have been more consistent the past few weeks, because he started off the season hot, and I feel like if he was to maintain that consistency of 70 plus yards every game and a touchdown or every other game, he would definitely probably be top 3 in this running race right now.
That's also largely due to incomparable quarterback play.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right about that. Definitely right about that.
Another guy who I think deserves a mention, and I think Trev might want to add a little bit to this one, but that boy George Pickens definitely passing the eye test. I mean, again, kind of a tricky situation on the Steelers right now with quarterback and not really getting the most consistent targets. But I mean, he's already making the highlight plays, finding the end zone, really establishing himself as a go-to guy for Kenny Pickett.
I think he's definitely a playmaker. He's definitely could win that offensive rookie of the year if he had the targets.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he doesn't have the targets. But everybody can see how good of a receiver he is. A wide receiver 1, potentially.
Oh, yeah. In the limited sample size, passing the eye test for sure.
Just unfortunately can't win with not much volume.
Yeah.
Who's not passing the eye test is Kenny Pickett, though. So.
Well,
no, he's looked awful. I'm sorry. he's looked bad.
Poor decision making.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
All right. The big one. The big fish. MVP, most valuable player of the NFL. I'll hand up right here. I'm the one who picked Derek Carr to win MVP this year. All right. Was there a little bit of Devontae Adams bias in that pick? Maybe not. Let's just forget about it. Clearly, Derek Carr is not winning no goddamn MVP, bro. The Raiders suck. But who could though is Josh Allen. That's who I'm riding with right now.
Really?
I think that dude is just playing on a fucking whole other level right now. I mean, obviously you got Pat Mahomes, who I think is right now the best thrower of the football in the league. And then you got like Lamar Jackson, who I think at the quarterback position is clearly the best runner of the football in the league. But if you combine those two aspects, I don't think there's one guy doing both those things together on a better level than Josh Allen, possibly in the fucking history of the game. I mean,
you also got to take into account, though, neither of those guys are winning games like Jalen Hurts is.
That's who I want to bring up.
I was gonna say, man,
despite the bye week,
can't leave out the last undefeated quarterback.
I mean, that's like true. You look at.
Yes, yeah. No, go ahead.
And he's playing at a crazy level right now. Like, and I know like Josh Allen obviously has all the passing stats, and that's just how it's going to be. I mean, like, there's nothing that can be feuded about that. He's been crazy as a passer, but as a rusher, and you're talking about combined, Jalen Hurts, I feel like, has looked like the absolute best all-around player on the field every time he enters a game. There's no one that can stop him in the run game. The QB sneaks on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. You can't stop him. He's squats 600 pounds and is an absolute monster of a human. Yeah. He's been elite throwing the ball. I mean, he's at 66%.
Only two interceptions on the year, so you're not turning the ball over, not putting the offense in a bad place.
And he's just winning games. Josh Allen's looked great, and I'm not putting anything past him, but I feel like this conversation is definitely a 1A, 1B between those two right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's nothing you can really say against Jalen Hurts.
Josh Allen, if he breaks a record though, as like the an all-time season passing record, because he definitely can. He's on track right now.
Yeah,
definitely think he'd be the number one for MVP if he does that.
There's a lot of guys throwing for crazy yards this year too, because Josh Allen, like you said, he's on pace to break a record, and he's still only 5th in the league in passing, which he's coming off a bye week this week, but still, it's just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
No, I will say about Jalen Hurts though is if he wins MVP or not this year, he's definitely really impressed me because, you know, I'll admit I was not big on Jalen Hurts coming out of the draft or for the last 2 years that he was like, you know, actually playing for the Eagles. I was not really big on him and his potential to be like a franchise quarterback, but I can definitely say he's proven me wrong. And I'll also say that a guy like Jalen Hurts, DiMaggio, should be like the biggest inspiration or the biggest proof that maybe Justin Fields can work, because I think it's a very comparable player what Justin Fields is last year and like the beginning of this year to what Jalen Hurts was in his rookie year and the beginning of last year. And
yeah, I mean, so you're definitely right about that. And I feel like I'm not going to go on a Justin Fields rant because I mean, I'm happy this weekend. Best offensive game he's played this season, or honestly, any season. He just looked like a complete quarterback. And I feel like if you follow the scheme that the Eagles followed with progress the quarterback, build around him the next year, Jalen Hurts didn't have a lot of weapons last year. He still had a great offensive line, but they were injury prone, didn't have a lot of weapons, and the defense played well. Justin Fields has no O-line right now, honestly, almost no receivers, but a defense that's playing an elite level, and he's finding ways to win and finally looked like an actual quarterback last game. So I feel like when you bring up that aspect of it, definitely can see that happening. I don't think at the same level next year, but I feel like it could definitely be something very similar. So I am excited for that, but just had to say that.
I'll also say too, a little bit off topic, I guess, but Devontae Smith and AJ Brown together are looking like a real duo at the wide receiver position. I mean, they both are getting, you know, high volume targets, high volume like yards and stuff. And it's just crazy what adding a premier guy like AJ Brown to an offense can do, even for the other guys at his position.
Well, it's because you look at how they're schemed. I mean, you finally have like Devontae was never coming in to play X. He was never going to be that big body receiver that can get off the line, off a press, and just make plays. He's that Z-type role that you can play in the slot, move him around, and when he's off ball, you can have those screenplays, you can have those underneath routes, you can have those explosive big plays when you have somebody to take that pressure off them. And that's what AJ Brown's been doing. And they've been using AJ Brown in the most elite ways, getting the ball in his hand early as a big body receiver to just run over guys. I mean, you look at the Cowboys game and they just constantly were having play action where AJ Brown was coming across the field wide open, having Devontae Smith pick, and just AJ Brown to the rest. And it's been amazing to watch. It's given Jalen Hurts a lot of opportunities. They've just been efficient as a whole team. So
yeah. AJ Brown's the receiver that wins with power. Devontae wins with finesse and technical ability. And then they got Quez Watkins in there who wins with speed.
And you have Dallas Goedert, who I feel like we're forgetting, who's been a top 5 tight end this season.
Top 5 tight end, great red zone target.
Mm-hmm.
And Miles Sanders is running that rock.
He is. He's toting it.
Definitely an example of surround a quarterback with weapons and good things will happen. The Eagles are. But all right, we got a couple more to get to here. Let's move on to Coach of the Year. This is easily our biggest miss from the preseason.
I will take full responsibility for that one.
Hey, you're not alone, Delia. There were some professionals over on over on the old ESPN who had the same take.
It just seemed too good to be true. You have a coach of unarguably one of the best quarterbacks who ever played, moving teams to be the coach of another great quarterback in NFL history. It's like, okay, what the fuck do these other new coaches have? Well, they got Daniel Jones. Because Brian Dable, bro, is just a complete animal, dude.
I've said this phrase multiple times with him. Above all things else, that dude is a culture cultivator.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he's done in New York. He rolled in there in his blue F-150 and from day one has just been fucking changing the culture of that team.
I don't think there's anybody else in the league that you can even put in the conversation for Coach of the Year. I think all of us can agree that, I mean, you can have that conversation, but Dabble turning a franchise around that I thought was going to be still bottom 10 in the league to 6-1 right now. And it's not like they haven't played anybody. They played good teams.
The Ravens, the Giants, not the Giants, the Ravens, the Packers. Those are two good teams.
And the Titans are still a decent team. And so, like, they're winning and just finding ways to win. And I don't think you can look at any other team versus what the talent was and how the projections were versus how they're playing now that anybody's even competing right now.
I'd say the only other name that we could really throw in there is Nick Sirianni. Even though the Eagles were a playoff team last year, they're undefeated right now, and they're toting a great offense and it's backed by one of the best defenses in football as well.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that on Nick Sirianni, and I'm glad you brought him up because no, I don't think he's the front runner for this award. And as long as the Giants, keep playing at least at a 500 level, I think it's Dable's award to lose. But I think Sirianni deserves credit because a lot of last year, what I heard from just kind of the NFL sphere is that, technically the Eagles made the playoffs, but they won a weak division, got blown out in the first round, like yada, yada. And now this year, it almost seems like that same thing, like that narrative is being flipped against Sirianni. And it's like, well, they were a playoff team last year and look at everybody they got. But I think, I don't know. It's hard because like the team on paper doesn't look that much different, but they're just playing so much better. That's got to be at least partially because of the coach,
I feel like it needs to be talked about because you're right. That was the whole narrative. Like they were a playoff team last year and they should be playing at this level. But there was a lot of people that were doubting if Jalen Hurts could be that quarterback, if he could be that guy, if the defense was going to play an elite level, if AJ Brown was really going to make a difference. And they're 6-0 and they've been playing elite and they've been amazing to watch. And so he definitely deserves that credit of being that guy right now as a coach. But I feel like you're definitely right. It's Dabble's award to lose, especially when you look at the Eagles are 6-0 coming off the bye, but you have the Giants who are 6-1, and that one loss is to the Cowboys.
6-1, and most people would have predicted 1-6 at this point.
Literally.
You know,
and so I feel like that's the difference. Like the Eagles, personally, I saw the Eagles being good. I mean, I predicted them for the Super Bowl this year, and I feel like it's looking good so far.
Yeah.
Giants, I thought were going to be bottom 10, bottom 5 even in the league, and they're literally the number 3 team in the draft order this year. So
it's crazy about the Giants, bro, because like I feel like all offseason people have asked who could be this year's Bengals. And even in the most abstract what if scenarios, I never heard the Giants once. Never. I heard a lot of Jets. I heard a lot of Lions. Did not hear any Giants. And here they are, 6-1. It's crazy. But no, a couple more guys. I just mentioned the Jets. Bob Saleh, another guy who's really brought in a new culture to that team and has the boys just firing. And this one's kind of a weird one, you know, don't raise an eyebrow at me, but consider Pete Carroll. I mean, the Seahawks were full rebuild, just gave away Russell Wilson. People were asking why Pete Carroll is still even with the Seahawks. Dude is in his mid 70s. Like everybody's thinking, wow, Pete Carroll's really like buckling in for a rebuild. And he said, no, the hell we aren't. We got everything we need right here. Let's go fucking run it. And they're leading the division right now.
No one believed him. Yeah, no one believed him when he said that.
He did say, I'm not playing with no rebuilding team. And they're winning.
This is a big legacy year, I feel like, for Pete Carroll, and he's taken full advantage of it, proving that, you know, he doesn't need no Legion of Boom. He doesn't need no Russell Wilson. Just give me the guys in front of me and let's go win some games. So maybe not a coach of the year winner, but definitely a guy who has earned some more respect from me. I've never been a huge Pete Carroll fan, but he's definitely grown on me this year, just seeing the job he's doing with those guys.
I mean, you look at it, no one said Geno was going to be a top 10 quarterback coming into the season. Everybody thought he was going to be the 32nd.
Everybody thought Drew Lock was going to be starting in Seattle.
Exactly. And like, he's top 5 in QBR and just overall top 10 in almost every quarterback stat.
Yeah.
He's looked insane. And the run game's been great. The Seattle defense has looked a lot better than I thought they were going to be. I thought they were going to be awful. And some people even predicted them to be 1-16, even 0-17. Yeah. And there's nothing you can say. I mean, they've been amazing this season compared to what people were predicting. And
yeah. Fuck the rebuild. We got our guys. Let's go win games. That's what Pete Carroll
wrote
said.
Me off, but I didn't write back. I mean,
well, is there a worst coach of the year award? Because I got a pretty goddamn good candidate for that
Still Hackett. Fucking Hackett.
Yeah, I don't know if we could have botched it any worse than picking Nat Hackett.
Yeah, literally.
Let's hear it though, Dilly. Who do you got? Oh God, I think I know who this is.
Yeah, come on, you know.
We don't really take no guess.
Worst fucking play caller in the league.
Oh man, poor Cliff.
Unbelievable.
Poor Cliff and the Cardinals. Just spent all that money on a new party pad, and he's probably getting the stinky boot. No, real quick though, before we move on from this coach talk and Nat Hackett, I just got to ask, what is it with the Packers, right? It couldn't have all been Devontae, right? Like, you look at our team and how bad we are, and you look at who we lost. We lost Devontae Adams and Nat Hackett, and it sure as hell wasn't Nat Hackett who was bringing the juice to that team.
Sure,
so, like, what the hell is going on?
I really think it was Devontae Adams. I mean, you look at your guys' receiving core, and I'm sorry, it's
a bunch of nobodies.
Like, it's a bunch of nobodies. You could make an argument that they are bottom in the league. Like, I get it. Like, the Bears' offensive receiving core is not good, and it's definitely bottom of the league too. But the Packers had a little bit of hype. Like, maybe Romeo Doubs could have been good. Christian Watson could have exploded on the scene. They have done nothing. Like,
Christian Watson is getting used more as a running back than a wide receiver.
Yeah, and it's insane to look at that, and just the loss of a top receiver like that has really shown that. And I want to say it's not just Rodgers. Rodgers has looked bad, and so has Tom Brady. It's like Father Time finally said, no, fuck this. I'm coming. You guys said you wrote me off, and I didn't write back. And I'm here now, and I'm showing you guys that these old motherfuckers can't play anymore.
I love Father Time because I hate Tom Brady.
He finally showed up, bro. Father Time really said this year is the year that These old ass quarterbacks cannot play anymore.
If anything, I just feel bad for Aaron Rodgers, and I also really don't respect Tom Brady's decision to come back, because like now this is clearly Rodgers' last year. There's already been some rumblings and reports about this being his last year, and now with us not playing good, you can almost seal that envelope and send it. But now Rodgers and Brady are going to retire the same year, which means they're going to go into the Hall of Fame the same year. And it's just going to continue to be Brady overshadowing Rodgers, even on the Hall of Fame stage, when it couldn't have been like that if Brady just stayed retired. Yeah. And Brady would have gotten in 28 or 29, and Rodgers would have gotten in 29 or 30, however it was. And it would have been staggered. And now it's just like, it irks me that Rodgers' like special day, you know, getting enshrined into the Hall of Fame is literally going to be overshadowed by this fucking mouth kisser, Tom Brady.
Fuck Tom Brady.
Anyways, little side rant. That was a little side rant. We got one more award to go over, and this one is probably the best prediction that we've made. Shout out to Bushy for making this one. It is Comeback Player of the Year, and we had Saquon Barkley on our ballot preseason. And that is looking to be the right call.
Yeah, no, definitely is. I don't think there's really anything we can talk about right now.
Gino,
you
can
Gino
in there.
Gino, for sure.
You look at how the expectations of Saquon and the past 2 years, just injury ridden, not looking good. But now he's on a team that's 6-1, looking like a top 5 running back again. He's really proven that he was that guy, and they made the right pick, and he's going to continue to carry them like he's been doing the past 7 games. So really great pick by Bush. I think a lot of us agreed with him on that too. Like, we could all see Saquon winning this award if he gets back to the level of what he was doing in his rookie season. And I think he's surpassing how he played in his rookie season. He's been electric. Not as many big plays as his rookie season, but he's been more efficient than his rookie season.
It's not even about like being efficient and the big plays. It's saving bad plays. He is notoriously escape tacklers from a 4 to 5 tackle for loss and turning it into a 3-4 yard gain, and that's just an explosion of like 10 yards and keeps you ahead of the chains as an offense.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't really know if there's many people to even like mention with him for this award. I before we started, I did mention Laramie Tunzel. Probably not going to win it because his injury last year wasn't like super serious. It was a hand injury. And also, I mean, he's playing O-line. That's not very sexy, but Laramie Tunzel definitely playing like a dog this year in Houston, coming off an injury, so deserves some props. But
it's Saquon. I feel like Saquon was a great pick.
And another guy, Brian Robinson. I guess technically rookies can't win this award, so he's not going to be in contention. But just coming back from fucking multiple gunshot wounds in 8 weeks is
coming back before Keenan Allen could heal his hamstring.
Heal his hamstring.
And Michael Thomas could heal his toe.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude's just a dog.
It's crazy though. It just on like a broad spectrum, thinking of like how much these pro athletes have to go through to recover from some of these injuries, and then to come back and be arguably better than they were is just so much respect to anybody who wins this award or doesn't win this award, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, that those were our preseason picks. We definitely failed the assignment, but that's all right. Made
some were good, some of them were really bad.
Oh yeah.
It happens.
But yeah, all right. Before we get out of y'all's hair today, we have a little special segment we're gonna run. I don't know if we've done this before or not, but take it away, Trev, with a little start bench cut.
Yes.
All right. Starting off, we'll start bench cut. Marlon Humphrey, Xavier Howard, and Darius Slay.
Ooh.
Are we going based off of this year? If we're going based off of this year, I'm starting Slay, benching Marlon Humphrey, and getting the fuck rid of Xavier Howard.
It's funny enough you say that because I'm starting Slay, benching Howard, and cutting Humphreys. Humphreys
that's what I'm doing.
Actually, yeah.
No,
as I said it, I was like,
but I guess like it's really you can really argue it.
No, I'm definitely I'm a big Marlon Humphrey fan, so definitely I'm still starting Slade top 5 in least yards allowed as a cornerback. Can't deny his greatness right now. Slade starting. Marlon Humphrey's getting the bench. I know he's always got some rough games against the Jamar Chase and the Bengals, but when you give that guy a scheme, he follows that to a T. And the versatility of him playing man coverage everywhere, definitely underlooked. And because I don't think Xavier Howard's really that guy. He led the league in interceptions that year. What the fucking do?
What's his name?
That's all he's done.
Gosh. What's his name? Their safety, Javon Holland.
Javon Holland is a beast.
Yeah, he's taken over that D for sure.
Oh yeah, that boy Javon Holland, that's a special player. I was high on him since he was a rookie.
From the O.
Oh yeah, no, definitely starting Slay though, and then I gotta keep Humphrey on the roster and cut Howard.
That's
personally, it's close though.
I feel like Humphreys just hasn't looked the same. I know Howard hasn't had like the big plays, but he's still been good in coverage. Marlon Humphreys, for whatever reason, just has looked bad this season.
Yeah,
they both definitely suffered a decline over the last year or two.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, he was injury prone last season. That didn't help, but this season, I don't know what the excuse is, but he's getting burnt in coverage. He hasn't been good in the run game. It's just rough right now for Marlon Humphrey.
Well, let's also not just throw all the blame at him. The Ravens defense in general not looking like the defense that we knew from their previous 2000s era. Tough, gritty defense, going to make you work for it. Kind of allowing a whole lot of big plays this year.
Mm-hmm.
But
you're right.
Oh yeah. Right.
Very true.
What's that next one, Trev?
Got y'all. Little another defensive one here. Start bench cut. We got Fred Warner, Darius Leonard, and Micah Parsons.
Starting Micah. I'm gonna start Micah. I'm going to bench Fred Warner, and I'm going to cut Darius Leonard.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do too. That one's hard though.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Those are three dogs.
I just gotta go based off of I don't know. I just can't put Darius Leonard up there just because the Colts are that bad.
I just can't put anybody above Micah Parsons right now.
Yeah.
That too.
I feel like I'm gonna be a little controversial here just because I want to be. I'm putting Fred Warner, starting him, benching Micah, and cutting Leonard. Fred Warner, I feel like next to, and this is a homer pick, but Roquan, but those two linebackers have been probably the most overlooked linebackers in the league over the past few years. Fred Warner finally got his praise with I think it was second team All-Pro 2 years ago, but he's consistently been in the talks for the number one linebacker in the league, and he doesn't get the awards to show for it. And it's starting to be upsetting to me because he's not getting talked about like the top linebacker anymore, when he genuinely, you could look at him as the best middle linebacker in the league right now. So it's like, yeah, Michael Parsons is amazing, and he's my Defensive Player of the Year award, but I just want to give shout out to Fred Warner. He's an amazing ball player, and he just gets overlooked so much. I want to start him for my.
He's a dog.
Damn straight.
Yeah, I think you gotta start Micah just because the dude's 2 years into his career, and look at him where we're talking now. He's arguably top 3 in the NFL on defense, regardless of position. On defense, he's top 3, and then I'll bench Fred. Very, very, very tough. Fred's a great middle linebacker, fills gaps, and a lot of things as a linebacker that you do get overlooked. You're quarterbacking the entire defense itself, so you have to acknowledge that. And then I don't even know who the other third guy is. That guy, Darius Leonard. Hold on, Shaq Leonard hasn't played all year.
Yeah, so. Shaq Leonard.
He hasn't played all year, so can't even throw him in there.
All right.
So how did like his name become Darius and he wants it to go back to what?
His middle name is Shaquille, but like coming out of the draft, everybody just like looked at his like full name and called him Darius because that's like his legal first name. But I guess everybody in his family has always referred to him as Shaquille.
Okay.
Makes more sense than Robbie just literally changing the name of the spelling of the word Robbie.
Yeah.
Fucking Robbie Anderson went from Robby Anderson to Robbiie Anderson. Like, who gives a fuck?
That guy in his like crazy wick hairstyle has he's been sending and receiving signals from extraterrestrials, and that guy's crazy himself.
Oh yeah,
have a monster rest of the year though.
Him and Raj probably doing ayahuasca together.
It'd be an unlikely friendship.
Yeah. Facts.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! All right, Trev, you got another one for us?
Yep, I got a last one for us. The wide receivers, switching over to the offensive side of the ball. Start, bench, cut. T. Higgins, Adam Thielen, and Chris Godwin.
Battle
right.
in the
So yeah, the battle in number 2s.
Wow.
I got you here.
Look,
T starting. Wait. Who's the third guy? Chris Godwin. Yeah, bench Godwin. Cut Thielen.
Yeah.
Sorry, Thielen.
Yeah. I do the same just because Thielen's number 2 to Jettos.
I'm gonna. I feel like the injury sucks, and that's why like I want to put him on the bench. But Chris Godwin before that injury was easily the best number 2 receiver in the league. Like I don't think there was an argument about it. Like there was conversation about him being the number 1 in that offense versus Mike Evans. So
that was also before T. Higgins.
And I get that T. Higgins has looked great, but I still feel like when I'm looking at Godwin versus Higgins, I'm gonna take Godwin. I'm benching Higgins and Thielen's cut. I love Thielen, but I don't know. The other two are just a lot more versatile. Like
I think
Thielen's
that
a great red zone threat, but
I think if you took all 3 of those guys and made them number 1 receivers on like other teams, I think that T. Higgins would have like the most production as a number 1.
I feel like the argument's still there for Godwin to be the most productive too. Though. I feel like he was doing a lot with Jameis still, and it's going to be overlooked because he's playing with Brady. But when he was playing with Jameis, he was still putting up amazing numbers too. So like, there's an argument that Godwin can play with anybody, and T. Higgins has had Joe Burrows for his whole career. So like, T. Higgins obviously could probably be a number 1 on a lot of teams, but Godwin has shown that he can play with 2 different quarterbacks and be very successful.
Yeah.
Godwin also shares a like wide receiver room with, in my opinion, a future first ballot Hall of Famer, and still carves out his own role. So
yeah, I mean, easily.
Oh yeah.
Let me start T. Dominant guys like 6'6" with like the longest arms. Like I think we've seen just humongous catch radius. Personally, there's going to be some bias in this. I'm benching Thielen. That guy is a chain mover. Third downs, get him the ball. He does it. Red zone, put it up. He does it. Put him in motion. Put him in the slot. He does it.
He's an all-time route runner too.
Exactly. And here comes the bias. I'm a Falcons fan. We know this. Rock ATL, 8 piece up, 8 town down. But Godwin, I've never been impressed personally. So I'm cutting him. I don't think he's that technical as a route running, using like his skills and the abilities to get open. I think he's kind of leaned on some of his physical traits, especially early on with that Jameis portion of his career. I think having to play with Brady has forced him to go into his bag, per se, and find that technical ability that he does have.
Hmm.
But not impressed.
DiMaggio's
Yeah.
Penn State head ass is fucking fuming at that take.
How'd you know?
I could see it.
I don't know. Like, and it's no Penn State bias. Like, obviously, I love Penn State, but I just feel like Godwin, to your point, has pulled out a bag and has still been successful in a different role. And I feel like you could definitely make the argument for any of these guys to be your one. Like, honestly, if any of us said Thielen at the one, I really couldn't argue either. Thielen has been very productive over the course of his career, especially where he was he was 24 coming into the league, not a lot of hype, was literally coming from a D2 college, no hype around him, and has carved out a role as he was a number one at one point in the league, number two now to Jefferson, because Jefferson's just that guy. But Thielen honestly could be an argument for number one too. So
he's had goddamn Kirk Cousins as a quarterback. Like, Kirk Cousins isn't awful, but he's definitely never going to play outside of himself and be extraordinary.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. So yeah, any of these guys, I can't even argue. Like, any of these guys you put at your number one is an amazing choice. So,
oh yeah. Well, shit. I think that should about wrap up today's episode of the Lunch Table, boys. It was a good one.
Oh no,
yeah, it was a very good one.
I think we definitely righted some of our wrongs with our preseason predictions. You know,
Definitely.
Let's see who gets like fucking season-ending injured next week and ruins this batch too. You know, but
Nice.
to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in, continuing to show your support. If you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, maybe turning on some post notifications so that you're always up to date, we would definitely appreciate that. You know, take a look at our catalog too. We've been doing this for quite a few months now. We got a bit of a back catalog built up, so
We do.
many hours of the Lunch Table to hold you over.
Yeah. More to come than just sods too.
Yeah. We got all sorts of special stuff planned, but that'll do it for this week. Happy sports watching to you all out there. Go Phillies. We'll see y'all next week.